Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Got another intriguing matchup week 3 as the TCU Horned Frogs head on the road to play Houston Cougar team coming off what is a really brutal loss to Rice. And I guess we'll start out with having the conversation. Coach Dana, I would like to hear what the Houston fans have to say. For me, as an outside looking in, he's got to be on a very, very hot seat, right? You look back to 2022, and if many Houston fans were listening to me back then, this was one of the teams that I was highest on heading into the season. I thought that was a New Year's Six Bowl caliber team with all the talent that they had, right? Clayton Tune playing in the NFL. Tank Dell, one of the best receivers in the country last year. A host of really talented guys on the defensive side of the ball. And what you get in 2022 was just a sloppy, undisciplined performance. And I know 8-5, that's pretty solid on paper, but that Houston team was much better than what the record showed. And now you start off the season losing one to Rice. Houston fans, let me know in the comment section how you're feeling about Coach Dana. I got to think his seat is relatively hot for a lot of the fans. Now, before we get into the matchup, just want to say thank you to you guys. Like, the support that you guys have shown the boys truly does mean a lot. So if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Over 8,000 subscribers. Can't thank you guys enough for all the support. And more importantly, again, let me know in the comment section your pick for this game, how you guys are feeling, what the key matchups are for you. And without further ado, let's get into this game. Now, talked a little bit about Houston. Obviously, Donovan Smith taking over. I want to spend a little bit more time talking about this TCU team and what we saw the first 2 weeks of the season. Obviously, a really disappointing loss week 1 to the Colorado Buffaloes. That being said, and I was relatively high on this TCU team heading into the year, but I also didn't ignore that they lost a ton of NFL draft talent, and I don't think this program was quite ready to lose that much because Sonny Dykes is going to recruit well at TCU. I just don't think the recruiting was good enough. I don't think they had the talent, the young talent, to kind of reload as quickly as many thought. Now, TCU, I think, is a really quality team. I think it's going in the right direction with Sonny Dykes. Like, no question about that. That being said, I kind of expected some growing pains, right? You lose Max Duggan, Quentin Johnson, Kendra Miller, and then on the defensive side of the ball, D. Winters, one of the best linebackers in the country, the best cornerback in the country, Trey Hodges-Tomlinson, Dylan Horton. They lost a lot of key contributors, and I think it makes sense to maybe see a little bit of a slow start. That being said, I think TCU did a really good job in the transfer portal. You're seeing some of those guys kind of show out during the first 2 weeks. And I want to start with this TCU offense going up against the Houston defense that just gave up 400 yards to JT Daniels through the air. And again, JT Daniels is a solid quarterback, but Rice doesn't have a ton of talent outside of McCaffrey on the outside. Kind of an inexcusable performance. And I would look for Chandler Morris to get after this Houston secondary. Now, one thing that I'm kind of interested to hear what TCU fans have to think. Looking at some numbers, Chandler Morris really not pushing the ball down the field. Now, he's been accurate, over 70% completion percentage. The offense has looked pretty crisp. That being said, I would like to see Chandler Morris maybe push the ball down the field a little bit more. One of the lowest depth of targets that you see at the FBS level. I think they have the talent at the outside position to do so. That's kind of one of the things that I'm looking for. And I get you want to get the ball quickly into some of these wide receivers' hands, let them work after the catch. But you also want to keep that defense honest, keep those safeties off the line of scrimmage. And if you can do that and kind of push the ball down the field a little bit better than you've had the first 2 weeks, that just makes this run game work a little bit better. And I'll tell you what, Kendra Miller was awesome. Amani Bailey has been running extremely well. You have Trey Sanders in there too, but Amani Bailey, to me, has been the more impressive running back. This TCU team, Amani Bailey averaging about 7 yards per carry. Really impressive group. I think they have a solid offensive line, even though they lost some guys up there too, Steve Villia being one of my guys. But this offense has looked good. I think more of the question marks are on this defense, and that's a good segue, I guess, to flip over and look at this Houston offense working against this TCU defense. And the first thing I'll say is for Houston on the offensive side of the ball, Donovan Smith, going back and watching some of these games back, I think he's looked solid. This is a guy with all the traits in the world. The big bugaboo for Donovan Smith at Texas Tech before transferring to Houston was the turnovers, right? I mean, he made some flashy plays. He's obviously very big, very athletic, can work with his legs. That being said, I think he's limited to turnovers. I think this offense has looked pretty solid, right? You have a bunch of really talented wide receivers. Matthew Golden as a true sophomore, really, really good. Samuel Brown stepping up. I wonder how this TCU defense can work against this Houston passing attack. And again, the TCU the TCU secondary has been kind of the problem, right? You look at their numbers, 1.9 yards per carry. The front seven, I think, getting it done, right? Big Dominic Williams, Johnny Hodges, Jamoy Hodge. That's a good group that was good against the run last year. It started off really, really good against the run this year. In the secondary, like they got some guys, right? I mean, I'm looking at my notes. Josh Newton, I think one of the better cornerbacks in the country. I would like to see this TCU secondary kind of come and settle in a little bit because I think the personnel is there to be a good secondary. I think they just need to put it on the field a little bit more. And obviously, Colorado, kind of a little bit of a magical game. I think you run that back again. I'm kind of interested to see how TCU does. That's kind of where it comes down to because I think Houston can run the ball. I don't know if they'll run the ball that effectively against TCU. I'm more concerned with Donovan Smith kind of uncorking against with a couple of really talented wide receivers going up against the TCU secondary that's kind of struggled. Now, getting into the pick, TCU on the road, 7.5-point favorites. I'll tell you this right now, looking at this Houston team coming off the loss to Rice, coming off what was a really disappointing season in 2022, and quite frankly, not even that impressive in a performance against UTSA, only winning by 3. I think Frank Harris threw 3 interceptions that game. This is a Houston team that, for me right now, is really hard to get behind and put some money behind because it just looks like I don't know. I'm not saying the players are quitting on Dana, but this is a program that does not have a lot of juice to it. TCU, on the other hand, I mean, they're coming off a magical season in 2022, and I know they had a disappointing loss to Colorado, but I trust the culture and the winning culture, something we've talked about all offseason with TCU that Sonny Dykes instilled. I mean, this is a team that goes into every single game believing they can win. I mean, you saw being underdogs pretty much half the season last year and winning those games. They got a strong culture. I think Sonny Dykes has this ship going in the right. If you look over across the way at Houston, hard to argue that ship is going in the right direction. Give me TCU covering the points on the road. And again, if they lose this game, if Houston loses the game and it's not relatively pretty, I think we're going to have that conversation about Dana Holgorsen and what the future is for this Houston team that if they get good coaching, like both these programs in the Big 12 have a lot of runway to be successful Power 5 programs, right? Especially with Texas moving to the SEC, I can see recruiting for both these programs going in the right direction. I think Sonny Dykes, the right man for the job at TCU. Dana Holgorsen, not really sure if he's the right guy. That's probably the bigger storyline. But again, give me TCU. It's the team that you're feeling a little bit better about heading into this game. And sometimes you just got to go off the vibes. Again, appreciate you guys rocking with the boys. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.